next psyop. Now this one's just been released, read. Dangerous grandson killed his own grandmother, read. It's a white type idea, read. They've got all the details released, they've got all the, as you know, when they do these psyops, read, they don't have details when it's an immigrant or something like that, read. They don't have any details. When it's a white one, they say they've got every detail, photographs and everything, like just ready to go, right? That's what you got in here, right? So it's like, the whole thing with story and everything. Grant McKin, like McKin is me sort of next of kin, right? So it's like, again, demonising white idea, right? Obviously to distract from the immigration that's going on, right? And of course, like say the thinking behind this, right, is basically again to justify like the mass immigration. So it's like, oh well, there's no point being against mass immigration because whites are just as likely to kill like someone in their own communities, including their own grandmother. I mean, if this has ever happened, right, in reality it's probably only happened like maybe once, twice in history, right, and would never have made it to the news, right, and obviously would have been done by someone like severely mentally ill or whatever, right. But what they're trying to do here is sort of say, like this justifies mass immigration from obviously Africa and Asia and all this because like they've got just as much chance of a white one sort of committing a sort of murder thing as an import, right? Which of course is just crazy because even if you take a person, right, who's so mental or whatever, they're gonna murder their own grandmother or something like that, right, they're still native to their own country, right? So it's like, where do you expect them to be, right? They're native to their own country, so they've still got more right to live here than an import from, say, for example, Somalia, right? And in actual facts, right, the actual statistics bear it out that if you import someone from Africa, an African state, right, if someone's liable to do that from Britain, the same person from Africa or an import from Africa is like 1,000 times more likely to do that, and you can look at their figures and all that on obviously murder and gun and mental and all the rest, and it bears that out, like, so you import an African or an Asian or something, 1,000, well not particularly an Asian, but an African one definitely, right? They're more likely to do that 1,000 times more than, say, a white British, right, or native British. So again, you're talking about the same old psyop where they're basically trying to say, like, don't be objective to multiculturalism, right? Your sort of peoples are just as mad as these ones, right? Which is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So you've got mad nutters over here, so you're going to import a load of African ones as well. I mean, it's just crazy thing, But obviously it's following multiculturalistic agenda. Whatever that is, right? Whatever that is, right? Like, you tell me if that's a man or woman, See what I'm saying? So like, the same old psyop, right? And again, like, gone into the extremes of, the psyche, the depths of the darknesses of the psyche to try and justify mass immigration, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, but again, you think about it, an African is much more likely to do that than a native Britain, So, basically look at this week here, the Rwanda-Plan, we've talked about this one as the wand. I mentioned the wand in it, the magic wand. Obviously a bit of Crowley chaos magic involved in this read. Officially known as a Migration and Economic Development Partnership, right? Now, this has to be a hidden piss take, right? Because you're talking about the Rwanda idea is associated with genocide, right? Where the Hutu peoples cleansed the Tutsi peoples of Rwanda, right? So referencing the Rwanda-Plan, obviously, as you know, that Rwanda-Plan didn't come about, like, and so they never deported any immigrants on that, using this Rwanda-Plan. And then the next thing you knew, that kid, Axel Rudabonner or something, so he was meant to be Rwandan, right? So this has got to be a long-standing piss take, basically, where Rwandan genocide, where the Hutus, genocided the Tutsis, right? Ethnic genocide. So basically, you can see how to apply in this to what's going on in Britain, right? As you know, the shipping and the amounts, the numbers that will result in eventually, the name there, Kigali. It's like that's a bit like the other one, like, right? So referencing this all the time, and it's like a hidden joke amongst them, Rwandan genocide. Right? So obviously the more imports to put in here, the greater the chance of basically a genocidal type of thing happening, on the British Isles, right? And of course Boris Johnson, right, who brought in a Boris wave of 5 million more immigrants, right? Now before this Boris wave come in, right, the balance was basically half and half, like it was fairly tipped type of thing, right? Allowing for obviously the projected birth rates of immigrants, right, which are obviously a lot quicker, multiply faster than the British birth rates, right? But it was about half and half, right? Somewhat like a sustainable population levels for the next 20 years or whatever, right? And then this Boris wave come in, another 5 million, and that tipped the balance, right? That totally tipped the balance over, so that we would guarantee that the British ones was outnumbered by the immigrants in their own land, right? And then of course the Liz Truss one was in for about 5 seconds, and then of course the Sunak one took over, right? So it's got to be some form of basically a piss take, Again, right, you're seeing that the Kigali, very similar to Kalugi, it's basically must be the main city or whatever, right? So you see that the name, it means the Rwanda, mean expansion, spreading out from the centre. So of course it'll be growth, right, if they start taking over the European lands. See how here it Kenya Rwanda, which means domain or territory. So obviously wander, wander about, right? Wander. Of course, wherever you wander, there's no place like home, right? So again, this has to be a piss take. It's like a hidden piss take, where they're basically planning, obviously planning with this agenda, and just been taking a piss all along. There was there was real plans to deport immigrants, to this place. Just opposite, it was an implementing of obviously the Kalugi type of strategy. Right? It seems like that's exactly what they're implementing now, really. Everyone's nation should be guided towards the superstate without their people understand what's happening. Right? So obviously there is such chaos being done at the moment, really. Chaotic stuff. And basically I've become chaos magic, as basically created by Alistair Crowley and all them. So this whole thing was basically just a hoax. As you see, we're processing asylum and resettlement. So I'd like to bet the majority of ones that were waiting to run then, if they were biding for time, basically, right? All the majority of them that was awaiting processing would by now have went through obviously the things have been awarded their passports and citizenships, right? It's just one total con. And as you see here, right? So Home Secretary Priti Patel, who's Indian anyway. And then James Cleverly, right, who's African. So this has been a total piss take all along. They were never planning on shipping any out. More cons, right, where an economic transformation and integration fund. Like all the same languages, all that scale up very quickly. Basically been implementing the the Kalergi strategy. They were obviously bring about extinction. Look like and then the entire sort of route crossings thing obviously was just a distraction, no works really. The legal air migration is the thing that's what's dangerous. Like I say, the waiting processing type idea. And at this point, 5 years later or whatever, they've been given the citizenships, and they're now considered British citizens with same rights as a native, British citizen, and like an ethnic British citizen. It's just insane, It's what you call genocide. Same as the Hutus and the Tutsi people and all that. But because it's happening in Britain, it's like no one gives a shit, you know what I mean? Because obviously, people who are implementing it are getting away with it, right? They've bought off a lot of the obviously Masonic and that. And of course, a lot of people are just like focused on getting a new bathroom suite or watching Netflix or, whatever. Like, going to a fun fair. It's just crazy, And it's just basically, it's ethnic genocide,